What's up, bro? How are you?
Tired?
Yeah. Dude, so you just finished, it's been a while, but I wanted to talk to you about it. You did a Ironman.
Yeah, I did my first full Ironman in November.
Yeah. How was that? Let's talk about it.
Man, there's so many aspects to that. Like, I don't know.
Get into all of it, man, because like I know you from OG Jiu Jitsu stuff, like way back in the day.
I was thinking about that coming up here, like where we started where we knew each other from. And it was like, what, 2007?
Yep.
Around that?
Yep.
Karate Mafia.
Yeah. That was it.
Yeah,
and,
back when we were really not correct in the head.
We were all idiots, bro.
Every one of us. We were so dumb. We thought the only way to train was to beat each other up.
Yeah. I mean, it made us all tough, I guess. But
I was talking to some friends about the other day, like we've grown and adapted to like a better system of training, but man, guys just aren't made like they used to. Like that in your face, like really, I don't want to say hurt each other, but like, I don't know, that grind made people different.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, people are more skilled today, but I think they lack a little bit of that. Like what a lot of people have instinctually, like I believe you can build that. Like the whole saying that people have like inside their gis, and it'll be like, you can't train heart. I'm like, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
You know, to say that like you either have it or you don't, I don't believe that. Because I know tons of people that start doing CrossFit or triathlons like I'm doing who can't run a mile or, you know, bench press 135 pounds. But each time they push themselves and suffer a little more, they can do a little more the next time. Well, to me, that's hard.
Yeah.
You're pushing that boundary. Now, some people have a deeper boundary to start with, but that's no different than any other genetic benefit or whatever else you want to call it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I think back then, that's what's interesting is, yeah, I mean, dude, it just was, we were just beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was it.
No other way to try to describe it.
You weren't scared of anyone.
No.
You know, you weren't scared of anyone, which is good and bad, you know, because then it makes you kind of like big-headed where you wasn't watching tape or anything, which there wasn't much tape to watch back then either.
That's fair.
But like you didn't really get to study your opponent or nothing. And it was just kind of like, oh, well, I'm tough. I got this, you know, but that's not a good strategy.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was telling somebody not too long ago, Chad Linhart.
Mm-hmm. How's he doing, man?
Oh, dude, he had another kid. He's out in Atlanta. He's got 3 kids. They're doing good. I don't talk to him nearly as much as I should.
We refer to him a lot on here because he would beat the shit out of us, you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
So he was my number 1 training partner for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that was when he was fighting on Strikeforce and Bellator. Like, we fought for 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I'm never going to fight anybody, anywhere, as tough as that the rest of my life.
No.
Mainly because I'm smart enough not to now. But mostly it was just, like you said, no one does that anymore.
No. But it's, well, I mean, so how does that segue into you getting into this other stuff? Like, is it just one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm getting older, I don't want to, you know, like, how did that segue into the triathlon stuff?
So, getting into triathlons for me is like a seasons of life kind of thing. Jiu Jitsu is still my number 1 favorite. Like, if I could go back and, like, I'll do Jiu Jitsu till the day I die.
Are you back rolling?
Not like I want to be.
Yeah.
But it's that season of life is what I was kind of about to say is, my kids are older, and they have things they want to do. They have gymnastics, Crew has Boy Scouts, he does on track, and all those kind of things. And so it's like, all right, well, the same time they have those, I would have jiu-jitsu. And it's like, well, so to sacrifice my kids' wants and hobbies and all that for my own selfish hobbies, like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, what can I do? Because I have to do something. Like, I can't just sit around the house and get fat. Like, it would drive me insane. I would hate myself for it. You know, people talk about mental depression, whatever. I would have all of it. Check the boxes. I wouldn't be able to operate. But my son has to do something. I told him, like, he doesn't like football. He didn't like baseball. So, like, all right, we want to run? He's like, I'll run. So I started running with him. Kind of started a little bit before that for me with Brittany and my wife. And we all kind of got into running during COVID. And something my dad used to do. My dad was a big runner. Like, that's probably the only thing athletic he did, like, after, like, high school sports.
Okay.
Around the same age I am now, he got into, like, running marathons and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then it worked out well because I could run anytime. And then I could run with my kids. I could run with my wife. it wasn't consolidated like from 6:30 to 7:30 on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah.
So if I was busy, like I could run at 5 in the morning, I could run at 2 in the afternoon, like it didn't matter. So it worked well. And then I forget who convinced me to try at the River City, and literally on like 3 weeks notice, he convinced me to do it. Matt Gamble, my buddy Matt Gamble. He was like, I'm going to do this triathlon. You should come do it. And I was like, all right. So like I borrowed a friend's bike. I got a membership at the Y. I learned how to swim in like 2 or 3 weeks.
That's something else people don't understand. That's hard, dude. It's like to be able to swim that much, it's very hard.
Yeah, and I've always been a confident swimmer, so I think some of this is nice that like, hey, you're too dumb to know you can't do it. So that worked well. Like I can do it. Like, you know, just swimming. And it wasn't too bad for me, honestly. My wife hated it. She was like, I'm never doing this shit again.
Yeah.
Ever. And she hasn't. So she stood by that. But yeah, so in 3 weeks I did River City and I loved it. And I was like, dude, I could like this. So I had some other sentimental goals I wanted to finish up. I wanted to do the Spartan Ultra in Dallas. That's the 30-miler, 66 obstacle one. I ended up doing that in October, and it like broke me. Like it was bad. Finished out the year, and then I started triathlon training. So I guess that's 2 years ago now.
So 22.
Beginning of 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I spent a month of January triathlon training, getting into that. And I realized real quick that with all my experience in combative sports and just working out and football and everything, like I didn't know shit about endurance sports, like really at all. Like, so I was introduced to this guy named Lucas Siska, and he's got Siska Training Systems. And he's been a pro triathlete for the last 15 years or so. In fact, this year is the first year he didn't compete in probably forever. Picked him up as a coach, and it was a good thing I did because the very first week he gave me a higher workload than I probably would have given myself for 3 months. My very first swim was my longest swim I'd ever done. Like, and he showed me real quick that like you're capable of a lot more if it's structured properly. And for the last, let's say for 18 months, I was underneath him all the way up until November when I did this Ironman. And no, he got me through a marathon. He got me through a couple halves. Got real fast on some of these local stuff. Yeah, all in all, it's about how you structure things. So that was kind of like the gateway into how I got into triathlon, and where that became my new obsessive, both feet in part of it. And
then you get right into that. All works up to the Ironman. And what does that look like? Because that's a huge achievement, especially doing a full one, right? You know,
it's kind of like kids.
Yeah.
You know, people have 3 kids, and they say it's not 2 + 1. Same thing with that. Like, a full Ironman is not 2 half Ironmans. It's just not.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is mathematically, but when you're out there, it's not the same thing. And I don't mean to be disrespectful when I say this. Like, if you go to a half Ironman, you'll be amazed at the body types and the type of people you meet there that are completing these things. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, it's very inspiring to just visually be judgmental and look around and be like, these guys are doing half Ironman.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Like, oh, okay. But when you go to a full Ironman, you don't see that. You see people who have dedicated months, if not years of their life, really put in the work, really like structured themselves to discipline to get them done. And the part that is amazing is, dude, the average age out there is probably like late 40s.
That's what's crazy.
Oh, and they're fast.
Yeah.
Like, the fastest age group is the one I'm in. Seriously, like late 30s, early 40s, those are the fastest. Like, I don't understand it, how that happens. Like, you would think, like, you know, this mid 20-year-old kid, and they're out there, but generally speaking, on like a bell curve, dude, 35 to 45, that's where people peak.
Well, I think that's where you have the most mental fortitude. You know, in your 20s, you're going to give up quick. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like I would probably break quicker.
I think there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of aerobic base you build year after year after year that allows them to have a stronger base. But I think it's actually what you just said. It's that mental fortitude. It's that I can punish myself longer And
because you know what your limits are. They don't know theirs yet, so they're maybe, I don't know, it's weird, but I could just see that, because like there'd be times where I'd just quit training or whatever, and I wouldn't care. Yeah. And I would walk away, wouldn't feel bad about it. Now it's like, dude, if I give up now, it just feels like I've lost it. Like I can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's something simple as going around that half marathon we did on January 1st.
Yeah.
But it's like in your head, it was like, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And it really, even if it would have really, really sucked, like you did fine.
Yeah.
You still could have been like, oh, I'm going to push through. I'm going to finish. Like there's something that we gain through life's experiences and all the negative stuff that happens to us that we just go farther, harder. I made the joke the other day about my son. I was like, man, this time next year he's going to be faster than me. And one of the guys I do a lot of triathlon training with named Jeb, he was like, dude, just beat them with distance. They won't suffer as long as we will. And I was like,
good point.
He's right.
Yeah.
He's right. Push that kid down.
What lay it out for everyone so they know what it looks like, because some people may not be familiar with what that race looks like, the length of it, and also like each variable.
Okay. So how it started for me, and I guess most people would, is I did the River City. And if anybody doesn't know, that's a local race here done out at Cypress. It's been a staple. I mean, guys like Lance Armstrong have raced it. Like, it's been around, I think, since like 60s, 70s, a long time.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but it's really fun. If anybody's interested in it, triathlon, first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and just throw that out there. Like, River City, you can start training for. There's a place called Sunrise Triathlon Club. They do several races leading up to that one through the summer. That's good to look out to. But the sprint is kind of like the introductory one, and it's usually somewhere around like a 500, 800-yard swim, and then usually a 12 to 18-mile bike, and then a 5K run.
Okay.
And that's how it started. And most people finish that somewhere between an hour and 2.5 hours, depending on capability. So most people, it's very achievable. It's nothing like, I can't do this. It's just a matter of, do you feel confident and safe in swimming? And do you have enough aerobic fitness to do something for an hour and a half? And if the answer is yes to those two, you can go do a sprint triathlon tomorrow.
Okay.
You know, you may not be fast, but who cares? Like, you do all this for you. And then, as always, the curse of being the way we are is like, well, I got to do something bigger. So my next race was an Olympic, which is it's around a 1,500-yard swim, and then it's a 25-mile bike, and then a 10K run. And I did that out in Dallas, and that was like my first time I ever raced with a coach, first time I really pushed myself, and with actual training underneath me. So that was an eye-opener, right? Especially when you have these guys out there who are beating you by 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, God.
And you just look at them like, I don't know how I could ever go faster than that. Like, it doesn't make sense. I can't comprehend it, you know? And then, of course, the next step after that would be like a branded event like half Ironman. People call them the 70.3, and that's how many miles it is. And it's a 1.2-mile swim. It's a 56-mile bike, and then a half marathon run.
God, man. And that's a half, man.
And that's a half.
Gosh.
And just to give you an idea of like the differences and capabilities of people, which is always mind-blowing once again, is I did my first one like 5 hours and 40 minutes, and I was exceptionally happy about that. I mean, obviously I want to go faster, but all in all, for my first time out, like, I was good with it. And the guy who won it, I think, did like a 4:02.
Gosh.
You know, like,
yeah,
low 4 hours are the guys that are doing it. Like, the age groupers are doing like 4:45, 4:50s. Like, it's just, once again, to comprehend the power output these guys put out. You know, they run the mile swim, the 56-mile bike, and they're cutting like a 1:15 half marathon.
Yeah, dude, God.
You know, like, I can't do that standalone, much less after everything else for the day. So that's insane. You know, the training for that is it's not as bad as you think. It's usually about 9 to 12 hours a week. You know, you're going to have 2-a-days. You got 3 sports to train for. That makes it tough. You know, a lot of people, it's just time consuming. That's all it is. If you have 2 workouts, you got to do one in the morning.
Yeah.
If not, like, you're trying to do them at night, and let me tell you, the wife don't like that. And you're like, hey, I got to go swim, and you get back, and it's 7 o'clock, and it's like, I have an hour and a half bike, too. So you're on the trainer, like, watching TV, like, pretending you're actually, hanging out with the family, but you're not. And then, so the next step after that would be like a full Ironman, which is, the staple. People will tattoo it on the back of their calf. Like it's an accomplishment. It really is. And I want to say the average.
What's the distance on all those?
So for the full Ironman, it's a 2.4 mile swim. It's a 112 mile bike and a marathon run, 26 miles.
God, dude. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yep.
That's most people will never do half of one of those activities their entire life.
No, it's I saw a thing on one of the triathlon Facebook pages I follow or whatever, and someone was like, "Yeah, this next year," and think about it so I don't mess it up. But they're like, I'm gonna swim more than most people walk. I'm gonna walk more than most people run. I'm gonna run more than most people bike, and I'm gonna bike more than most people drive. And there's a sad amount of truth to that. When you're in peak triathlon training, dude, your long weekends will be a 2, 3, 4 mile swim, and then a 5.5 hour bike, which is usually over 100 miles, and then the next day you're getting up and you're doing a 18 or 20 mile run. And those are that's kind of a peak week for Ironman training. But at that point, you're in week 12, 14, 16, 20. I don't know how long some people consider a training there is. Most of them, it becomes a lifestyle. It's like, well, how long have you been training for this? Like, well, I started 2 years ago. I never stopped.
Yeah, that's a lot, dude. That's what does it look like in the race? Like once you get there, do you feel like leading up to it? I guess if you'd never done one, the largest one you've done would have been a half, right? Mm-hmm. Leading up to that. So then you continue to go through this training program. Do you feel like you're ready when you get there? Or are you still doubting? How does that feel like?
Man, I feel completely ready. I really do. And I take it on the back that I had a coach and I had some other guys that were training with me. There's a handful of still really active triathletes in the area that are really strong, that do really well. We've had several people go to the World Championships from here. Confidence is a weird thing because half of it has to come from ignorance.
Yeah.
Because once again, I'm doing these workouts, and same thing. I remember looking next to someone I was biking with one day, and I was like, I saw you doing these workouts, getting ready for triathlon last year. I was like, there's no way I can do that. And then here I am doing it, and the response was like, yeah, every time I don't know how I do it, but somehow we do it. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And then you get there, and it's just a matter of jumping in the water. Once you jump in the water, it started. You just keep going. It's for that race, I did Arizona. The water was 58, 59 degrees. Dude, just takes your breath away.
That's rough.
Hands are numb.
Yeah, that's rough.
It took 400 or 500 yards to finally start to acclimate, And I'm lucky. I warm up quick, so I didn't have an issue. But dude, there's some people that supposedly didn't finish the swim, just because they couldn't acclimate to the cold of it. They couldn't put their face in the water.
Yeah, because that's a big difference between neck up and then when you get your head in and
it's
under.
Your face, man. You put your face in the water and just your breathing changes.
Yeah.
But you swim for, anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, depending on how fast you are.
That's just insane to think about, dude, because, my swimming is horrible, and just doing the we did the Wad Guys last year and almost died just swimming back and forth on the 100 meter or whatever.
Doggy paddling,
dude. It was it, dude. I was just I don't understand how people just do. When you say that, it's just, to me, it's insane to think about. Meanwhile, Billy's next to me and he's done an Ironman before, so he's like, come on, you got to. I really don't. I really want to stay. This is nothing.
I'm just gonna hang on to your ankles.
This is the first activity of the entire competition, and it's gonna wipe me out for the rest of the weekend because it's just every muscle's cramping up. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? So thinking about that swim is just insane to me. But I guess it's like anything else. Once you train and.
Well, that's most people's hang up, honestly. So many people I know would be like, oh, I'd do triathlon if it wasn't for the swimming. And I'm like, I get that. But it's just like anything else. If you want to get better at math, do math. If you want to be better at writing, well, write more. Well, I'm just not a good swimmer. Well, go swim.
Yeah.
You weren't a good cyclist until you started cycling. You weren't a good runner until you started running. So these people that take I'm going to do triathlon, I'm going to do an Ironman, and they swim once a week. It's like, come on, man.
Well, I just feel like, and this is no disrespect to any of it, but I just feel like the swimming may be the most difficult for people because you can't just take off. Like, it's something that you got to learn. Like, I know most people can ride a bike. Can they ride it efficiently in a race? No. I know there's a whole other skill to that, as well as the running. People can just run, but swimming, dude, I just feel like it's not a natural thing. Like, you have to teach yourself. I mean, once you learn it is, I guess, but maybe it's like everything else. I don't know.
It's like everything else.
Yeah.
And look, I'm fortitude to that. Like, I've never swam like the technique of, like, you know, breathing out the side or whatever. Like, I was a good swimmer in a pool.
Yeah.
Like, I had confidence there, but like, I've never like formally swam. So to know that I can come as far as I've come with no formal training, like, anybody can do it. But I did it because I had a coach that said, you're going to swim 3 times a week, every single week. And he's going to bump my yardage up, and he's going to make me do short, hard blasts. He's going to make me do like long, sustained intervals. You know, like some days I do a bunch of 25s or 50s. Some days I do a bunch of 400s, you know. It's really funny when you get to like Ironman, you're doing like, 4x1000. You're like, that's a track workout. All right, that's not a swim workout.
Yeah.
That's not.
Gosh.
But
Yeah,
so
crazy.
wrapping your head around that was the hardest part for me. Was just the idea that, all right, I get done swimming, and you go in there and you put your cycling shoes on, your helmet, and you're like, okay, I got somewhere between 5.5 and 6 hours on this bike, and you just gotta go do it. I really can't put into words until you've done it. Like, you just have to accept the fact that, like, it's all day, and then you have to fuel and you have to hydrate, and your stomach doesn't want to take it. Like, you're bloated, you're nauseous, you want to throw up, and it's just like, no, I got to keep eating, because if I don't, I'm never going to get through the day.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get done after 5.5 hours, 6 hours on the bike, and well, now I got to run a marathon.
Yeah. 26 miles. 26.2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
0.2. Don't forget that.
Yeah, the 0.2, that's a big damn difference. Yeah. And then, so what was the total time?
I did it just over 12 hours.
Was that your goal?
I wanted to be closer to 11, and I was doing well around, I think I did the first 13 miles of my run right at like 2 hours. So I was on pace for where I wanted to be like a 4-hour marathon. And man, I started having like that bloating, nauseous feeling I was telling you about, and I was able to fight it off. And then to about mile 15 or 16, and then it like really weighed heavy, where like I just couldn't eat or drink anymore.
Yeah.
And then at mile like 20, it was like, hey, you're either gonna like sit down and start throwing up, or you're gonna have to walk. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, part of me said, like, I'm a competitor, like throw up and then just finish strong, but I'd have been in a bad place. Like, I would have been going to the med tent. Like,
Yeah, you would have lost everything you put in, and then had nothing to finish on.
But I could have finished with just what was left.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'd have been in the med tent.
Yeah.
And I've done that before. But in my head, I promised my wife I wouldn't do that. And then
so you wanted to do it. That was just
that was
the last determining factor.
And two, I also said, like, I want to finish this in a way that I feel good enough that I'd want to do it again. And if I finished it dead, then, just like anything else, like, bad experience, you don't want to go back. So I was like, all right. So I death marched for like 3 miles, 4 miles maybe. And I'd say about 1.5 miles, 2 miles left. My stomach just like over like 2 or 3 minutes just cleared. Felt great, head cleared up, and I started running again. So I was able to finish strong, cross the finish line feeling great, like wasn't nauseous anymore. My buddies who had finished before me were waiting, Lynn and Jeb, and then Sam and Woods was there with us. So we had like 5 of us competing. They were finishing behind me, so we got to wait and be excited for them to finish. So like the community part of it's where it's all at.
Yeah.
Just like anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to ask, because I know I've compared this talking to people, like, it's obvious I can't really fight anymore, dude. I'm old, and like, say this, I mean, you're a little bit older than me, but still 35, like, it's not there for you really after you're 30, especially if you're doing it at a low level. It's just almost like, why are you abusing yourself? That's just my opinion. But also, like, I couldn't replace the CrossFit thing, I think, or anything like this, like, just kind of replace that MMA training for me, I think, or the fight training. Like, finding a community that you can still almost kill yourself with but then grow together, you know what I mean, and achieve things and go compete together without having to hit each other in the face, you know.
Look, when it's all said and done, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Like, the race is for you. I mean, that's a fact. Like, you go into a race, it's you against you. It's, can I push myself? Can I execute? Can I live in my brain for 12 hours while I'm hurting and keep going? And that's what an Ironman is. It's, can I hurt for 12 hours or however long it takes you and just keep pushing forward? So I say that because I want to follow up with, let it be known for me personally, as much support that's out there and the guys that are out there are training, dude, training for this triathlon was one of the loneliest experiences of my life. Like, when you're doing 3-4 hour rides by yourself, when you're doing 35 miles a week running, like, yeah, sometimes I'd have people to run with, but when you're doing structured workouts, like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Like,
you got to do what you got to do, and you're alone. Like, you're going to listen to so many podcasts, you're going to listen to your favorite song so many times, like, but then you got to keep going and keep pushing hard. Like, the training for it was infinitely harder than the actual race.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I didn't push myself, because I wasn't racing the Ironman. I did try and race a half Ironman in Galveston and completely bonked. I mean, the humidity crushed me. I had a phenomenal bike split, but half mile into run, the race was over for me. You know, I trudged for another 12 miles and walked off the course just because, you know, it was done. It was just, I hurt for that long and didn't gain anything from it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but jiu-jitsu, like, that's where, dude, it's a community, man.
Yeah.
You know, football, it's community. CrossFit, it's community. You know, triathlon, it's a community, but a lot of it's by yourself.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. All those are, like, I always compare CrossFit and fighting. Jiu-jitsu, not as much, because I was never really a jiu-jitsu competitor like you were. You know, I was just more like in the fight training and learned jiu-jitsu from you guys. Like, the only jiu-jitsu knowledge I had was working with you and Christian and Chad and you know, whoever else coming to the gym. I was never actually going to a structured jiu-jitsu class. Like, maybe I've done it a handful of times, but not enough to really put a stripe on a belt or anything. But, like, I compare those two a lot, because it's still you can train as a team, but it's still a single sport when you go out there competing against someone else. You as the team aren't going to win, you know. So it changes a little bit, but that's why I always compare those two together, you know.
Oh, dude, they're so similar.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that's what draws so many adults to jiu-jitsu is, you know, kickboxing, I agree with you, and fighting, there's a time in a season of your life where that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, as you get older, can you? Yes. Yeah, like, you're fully capable.
But why? You know?
Well, you lose some of that. Like, there's a time when, like, you have to know how you react to certain situations. Like, I think everyone should, even if you don't join an MMA gym, like, go long enough to spar and kickbox long enough to realistically self-evaluate yourself. You know, because my favorite thing ever is people. You already know where I'm going.
I can't wait.
You know where I'm going. Yeah. It's, you know, I see red. The memes, the jokes. Man, I'll tell you what I'd do if you said that to me. I said, I'll tell you what you do. You wouldn't do nothing.
No.
Nothing. You have no idea. You haven't been in a fight since high school.
Yeah. When you got mad, you got one lucky haymaker in.
Yeah, and the fight was like
But if you stand there and you get hit, you hit this guy and he doesn't move and he starts hitting you back, you know?
No, in high school, it's simple. I told my nephew this once. Like, somebody was picking on him. I was like, listen, you just punch him as hard as you can first in the mouth. And I was like, and he's probably going to beat you up. But that fight's only going to last 5-6 seconds before it's broken up.
Yeah.
That's not a fight.
No.
You know?
It's a little tussle.
But he knows that, well, if I mess him next time, he might punch me in the mouth again.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
But fighting is not the same as, like, a little scuffle. You know? Like, when I can't walk away for 5 minutes, this dude has me.
They lock this cage behind
they shut the doors, okay?
They lock it.
You know, and even worse, it could be your friend, like Chad.
Yeah.
Dude, being Chad's friend was the worst thing to do if you were trying to spar.
Yeah.
Like, but people don't know what they're going to do.
No.
If you don't put yourself in a situation, you know, I'm a big adamant about, you know, carrying guns.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, oh, man, you carry a gun? I'm like, everywhere. I was like, you know, do you? And they're like, yeah. I was like, would you ever use it? And they're like, oh, yeah, I know, I'll tell you what I do. I'm like, you could kill somebody? Like, really? I'm like, because I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I shoot guns a lot.
Yeah.
But I know what my conscience would feel. And let me be adamant when I say, like, it's one thing to say, like, hey, you know, my family and all this kind of stuff, but still, like, to pull a gun and pull a trigger for any reason, if you pretend like that's easy, there's either something mentally wrong with you or you've never really actually thought about it.
Yeah.
And then the capability side point, you know, like, can you? Like, you have this gun you carry. Have you ever actually seen how long it takes you to draw it from a holster and fire it? Like, how long does that take you? And then let's take it one step further. Like, how far of a target are you shooting? Can you even hit it?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to draw it fast and you're going to shoot 7 yards. Well, I can do that. What about 10? What about 15? What about 25?
Yeah.
Like,
With a pistol.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried? You don't even know if you can. It's like, it sounds good. Oh, yeah, I'll tell you what I do. Yeah, I'll tell you what you do. I'm staying perfectly still because that's the safest place for me. If I move, you might accidentally hit me.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's why I shoot these USPSA competitions.
Yeah, how's that going? So how long you been doing that?
My buddy Clay got me into that. Man, it's been a while now, maybe 6 years ago. And he, and it's something like I've yearned for and wanted. I just didn't know I needed it. And he brought me to a match and he like gave me a gun to use. Like, I didn't have nothing. And then like instantly I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I love this. And I've kind of taken off since I've been doing triathlon training. I just started getting back a few months ago. But it's great. I mean, there's the local clubs here. You can compete every weekend if you want to. But, you know, like I said, you draw from the holster. It's all under time. It's a whole course of fire where, you know, there may be anywhere from 4 to 15 targets. And you got to shoot them as fast as you can. And it lets you realize real quick, like, you're either A, really, really slow, or B, really, really inaccurate, or both. And
what are you shooting now that you're competing?
When I do shoot, it's like anything else. It's a game, right?
Yeah.
So I shoot 40, and it's because it's a major power factor. The point system's different.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they shoot, there's a division called carry optics. It's becoming real popular. And it's basically shooting with a red dot.
Yeah.
And they'll shoot 9mm.
Okay.
And it's a minor power factor. Like I said, that's just classes for the game.
Are you so you shooting a 40 like open sight, like iron sight, or yeah? Okay.
Yep.
You still have like what's the word I'm looking for? They have like glow reticle. What's it called?
I understand.
You know what I'm talking about, anyway.
Yeah, I don't have any of those fancy.
Yeah. So
I just got regular iron sights.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a custom 2011.
Okay.
Made by a company called Atlas.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a race gun. It doesn't have a slide lock. Like, it's made to shoot fast.
Right.
It's heavier. It's got the grip is, you know, a stenciled aggressive grip. You know, it'll scuff up your hands, callous your hands. Like, it's you know, it's not made to carry around.
Right.
And I wouldn't. Like, it's
What's your carry?
my carry is a shield, 9mm
Okay.
shield.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason I picked that one is because that's the one my wife feels comfortable with, and my methodology is always simple as this: like, I need a gun that if something happens to me, she can pick it up. She's used to it.
That's a good point.
So I can shoot anything. My hands
Yeah.
are bigger. I practice a lot, so like, I'm comfortable with multiple different guns. Her hand likes that one. She has the natural point of aim with that one. So something happens to me, it's the same mags, same gun. She can use it. She'd be comfortable. And like, that's just kind of like paranoia, worst case scenario. But
Yeah, but I mean, there's always that worst case scenario until something happens.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And then are you ready or not? And I mean, 99% of people aren't. You know, and that's frustrating to think about, and also scary as shit to think about.
dude, it's so scary. I mean, it's just like I said, these people that claim they'll pull a gun out and, you know, shoot them for the dumbest reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, once again, I have to reiterate, like, well, first off, I don't think you're capable. So
That's
that's
the exact
cute.
same conversation, someone whooping someone's ass or whatever.
Yeah.
That conversation, you know, it's the same thing. But I mean, a lot more detrimental, right? And a lot more consequence, you know. I don't know, and yeah, to even consider that, like, my wife, she's sitting there, she can hear. Typically, she's not in here, but like, I'm way more confident in her shooting than me. I'm not. I mean, I could shoot beer cans. I could, you know,
we
I could.
need to fix that.
Right, we do, and we've been talking about that. And honestly, we just need to do it. But like, yeah, I mean, dude, I've killed however many animals. I mean, plenty. You know, eating. You know, as far as hunting and stuff. Like, and but never done any running, shooting, or anything like that, or stuff like she has, and
So you're missing.
Yeah, I know I am, dude. But it's like one more thing, like what's my focus? Yeah, that should be extremely important, right? But also, like, there's all these things that I'm doing right now, and I have a really bad problem with like getting into it and then becoming like addicted to it,
You're talking to someone who started kickboxing, who went to MMA, who went to that, who started off with running to doing a full Ironman,
exactly.
who started off with shooting pistols to doing these team sniper matches. You're talking to someone who gets it.
Yeah, I know. And
I have an addictive personality.
Right.
Like, it's not cocaine, thank God.
Yeah, exactly.
But it envelops my life.
Yeah, so
with whatever I choose.
I'm like slowly like thinking about that, and like I had a little bit of conversation with her, like maybe we should go to the range or something. And I'm just like, dude, which she would prefer way more to do target shooting, not standing in a range with all these rules. You know what I mean? Because she's more skilled, of course, and has more experience. So like me, I'm like, dude, I'm cool with any of it. It sounds really fun. But do I want to replace this other programming we're doing right now with that? Because I know that I couldn't just go do it once a quarter. I would want to then go like, I'll see these people with these badass guns or doing this cool stuff. Like Jeff Westmoreland, I don't know if you know him. He was on here.
Yeah, no, so he shoots USPSA.
Yeah, he shoots. So I see his stuff all the time. Like, dude, that shit looks cool.
And he's gotten really good over the last year or two. Like when he first started, he was like everybody else, where he was very unsure and he was very deliberate and slow. And dude, now he goes out there and I'm like, hey, you gonna let him rip? And he's like, oh, I'm going. And he pushes himself and he finds his limits. And I guarantee you, in a live situation, like, he knows where those limits are.
Yeah.
His natural point of aim is significantly better. And it's as anyone who goes out there and competes.
Are you shooting both eyes open?
I have trouble with that.
Yeah.
I actually more of like a closed one eye.
There's a lot of controversy over that, or I feel like there's a lot of argument or discussion.
Oh, there's tons of it. It depends what you are. Like, if you're shooting like a red dot, then I could really I could push for the both eyes open thing. I do think it's more beneficial because it keeps you more target focused, which is a whole debate in itself. But for iron sights, I just have trouble focusing with both eyes open.
Yeah, I don't think I could. Like, honestly, I'm thinking about that. I've never even tried it, but it just seems like it would be but I guess it's one of those things, I guess if you practice enough that way, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, so the concept behind it is whenever you're shooting, you want to shoot target focused. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is if you get lost in the sights of your gun, then by the time you transfer out to what you're looking at, you're behind. Whereas if you're looking at your target and then let your gun naturally point of aim behind it,
got you.
Your sights at that point are just telling you confirmation. So like how someone described it with like a red dot to make it more visible is, you look at your target and you bring your gun up. Is your red dot on the target? No, I don't pull the trigger. If I see my red dot on the target, I pull the trigger. So it's a no-go gauge for speed rather than accuracy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So and then after a while from that practice, that natural point of aim comes good. So every time you see the dot, you're on target. You can let them rip. And then if you're coming up and it's not, and you don't see the dot, well, you just have to readjust. And that's a pretty elementary way of kind of describing what it is. But if you're interested in that, look up target focus. And the best shooters in the world, that's how they're shooting. And typically that's both eyes open. But with iron sights, I find myself closing one eye quite often. Like I'll target focus, but as I'm going to get that confirmation I'm talking about, I do it with one eye closed.
Got you.
And I think that's just a habit too that's how I was taught to shoot a gun when I was a kid.
Same,
so
same. I think I'm always more comfortable doing it that way, especially if it's like you said with iron sights or something. Like with the shotgun, it's not the same thing. It's a different principle though.
See, I shoot a shotgun with one eye closed.
Do you? See, I don't, which is weird, but
yeah, I don't know if that's right or wrong.
I guess if you're hitting the target, there's no right or wrong really, but there's all these people that have opinions on it.
That's
and I guess if it comes down to a millisecond on a course or something, someone can make an argument. But I still feel like it's going to be the individual, which I'm talking to someone who's completely third party here. So also, I don't know shit.
Yeah,
that's just me.
When you shot a shotgun, you're ahead of a lot of people.
Yeah. Hunting. Like all that stuff's from hunting. I've never really been in any other situation or scenario. I've shot guns and. Maybe one time I can count on one hand at a range, but nothing fancy.
Yeah, but I highly encourage anyone who says, I want to carry a gun, go shoot a USPSA competition. Like, you don't need any special training. Just show up, be friendly. Everyone will help you out and walk you through it. And you can see, truthfully, how well you can react under pressure, giving different distances on human-sized shaped targets. And you might find a new hobby, or at least maybe you'll go, I definitely at least need to go shoot this gun more than twice a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for everything in life. Like, if you want to pretend that, like, you're going to protect your kids and your family, like, go do Jiu Jitsu every now and then.
Oh, I can, and that's why I'm right there with you. I completely agree. Like, I really do. When someone grabs you and you've never been grabbed, like someone who knows what the fuck they're doing does, you immediately don't know what the fuck to do. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. It's just like the first day me rolling with one of you guys. I'm like, what? Your brain just goes, what the fuck do I do? I can't do anything. This person is throwing me around, and they're actually probably 20 pounds smaller than me. Yep. And they're literally treating me like a bitch, and I don't know what to do right now.
Okay, and then that backs up with, you know, let's say you can fight. Let's say you are a kickboxer, but you're not in shape anymore.
Yeah.
How long can you kickbox for?
Not long, dude.
Like, if you have to get in a fight, like, how long can you fight for? Because they say the police are 10 minutes away. Can you fight for 10 minutes?
Yeah, stay alive.
If that's the case, right?
Yeah, or whatever, yeah.
You know, if there's two people, can you run away? Like, don't even fight. Can you run away from someone trying to get you? Are you physically capable of that? Sadly, a lot of people aren't.
Or can you protect your family long enough for someone else to get there to help you? You know, whatever the scenario is, you know? Like, because, man. And I don't know, the biggest thing now is, like, it's so hard to tell if someone can do any. Like, you used to look at someone and be like, okay, well, you know, I think there's a look, and you may know what I'm talking about. And dude, you've had way more experience than I have, probably hours of training in the ring and everything like that. But I can look at somebody and tell not to fuck with them. You know what I mean? I can just see a look in some people's eyes. You know, I don't know if you've been there, but you may know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly
what
you're talking about.
There's some of those people, and I'm like,
you know what it is? It's confidence.
Yeah.
And look, it can be fake confidence.
It could be.
But me and Walker were talking about that the other day, and I was like, because we were talking about our kids and, you know, bullies and whatever else, and I was like, look, there's something to be said about just appearing as though you're confident. Mm-hmm. If you hold your chin a little higher, if your chest out a little more, if you look people in the eye, like, they're less likely to fuck with you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in like an intimidating fashion or whatever. I mean, like, at the gas station, pumping your gas, and this sounds terrible, but, like, you know, you got that homeless guy, just looks sketchy, makes you feel uncomfortable, and he's going down the line asking for money, and you tell everybody's uncomfortable, and all of a sudden you stand a little taller and you look directly at him, and he just walks right by you. Mm-hmm. Like, instinctually he knows, like I don't want to engage this.
Yeah, I don't want any confrontation here.
And I don't mean that in like a negative way. I just mean that in if there was a situation that would have came from that, you bypass it just with confidence.
Yeah.
And you get that confidence by knowing what you're actually capable of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's also that, I don't know, I've had this feeling like where maybe you're in like a scenario like if young guys are out here, because there's always those young guys that are out there and they're just always they're running around trying to pick up chicks, or they're just ready to get in a fight, mm-hmm. or act stupid. I don't know. I've been in scenarios where I'm sitting there and I'm looking around. I'm like, there's probably one dude in here that we really need to worry about. And he doesn't look like he wants to be here either. You know what I mean?
He doesn't even want to be here.
He doesn't want to be here. So that's the first problem right there. He already doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, man, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting to raise kids in this new world we live in, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I worry about for my kids, you know, and I think it's just something you have to learn on your own. Like, I think that's like one of the hard parts of parenting and moving on, is just to say, like, hey, you're going to have to lose a fight. You're going to have to get picked on. You're going to have to suffer just like we did. And I can tell you all the right things to do and all the right things to say that I've learned, but it doesn't mean, A, you're going to do them. It doesn't mean it works for you either.
Yeah.
But I do know that you're going to have to lose a fight. You're going to have to get picked on. You're going to have to defend someone who's being picked on. Like, you have to play all the roles. So at the end of the day, you say, like, yeah, I've done it, and I know what I'm capable of and where I stand. Because truth is, maybe you're not that guy.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Don't pretend to be.
No.
Know that when shit hits the fan, your job is to get all the other people away.
And know someone who is that person.
Yeah.
Male or female. You know, like, and make sure, like, because it is okay, but at the same time, like, you should, it's worse if you think you're that person, you've never put yourself in that position, and then you get other people hurt, you know, or killed or anything because you were lying to yourself and everyone else that you were that person, you know?
Yeah. I mean, basically the whole thing I said earlier is just a long way of saying that.
Yeah.
Like, if you've never tried, you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's important to me. Important for me. I think being truly self-aware is important in every aspect of life. And, you know, I get that self-awareness from pushing myself to do really hard things. And it's, you know, I call them hobbies, but, you know, that's just what they are. Like, but I don't know what I'm capable of unless I push myself to that absolute limit. A lot of people aren't quite that way, and that's okay. You know, my wife's a great example. She's willing to do a lot of things, but push herself to the absolute edge is not one of them.
Yeah.
She ran a half marathon. She said she would never, ever do it. And I didn't think she would. And then she ran a marathon. And I really didn't think she was going to do that. FOMO just kind of won out, I think. But, you know, like she said, she goes, I'm not going to give myself some unrealistic goal that I'm going to be pissed off about when it's done because I didn't meet it, when the real truth is I ran a marathon. And then here I am going like, oh, if I don't run a 3:20, I'm a piece of shit. You know, like.
That's where it gets weird, right? Because you do become that person. You do, because you've already achieved that. Now you're like, well, I'm sitting here thinking, well, I ran that the half marathon with you guys, and but I was slow. I had to stop and take a shit. You know, like what I would have been, what I should have done better. I actually should have tried. You know, like you start thinking all those things. You complete it, and then you're immediately like, well, I could have been faster. You know, is what it is.
Always. That's just, and that's what drives me. It has to be so difficult that I don't think I can do it. Like, I don't think I can do it. Like, that's important to me. And that sounds really sadist maybe. But it's like,
I think we're just idiots, man. Good and bad way.
I mean, that's mostly it. That's mostly it. But you mentioned something earlier that I want to go back to, is you were talking about the how you'd like to do it more, but, you know, hobbies and time and all that. And my old boss mentor used to tell me all the time, this is work related, but it works in everything. It's like, if you say yes to something, what are you saying no to?
Yeah.
And I think that's where life has to be balanced now.
That's exactly what it is right now. It's like, okay, well, work has to be done. Family has to be taken care of. The other hobby we have right now we get to do together. Is that hobby going to align with what she wants to do? Can we do it together? Because then I'm all for it. But if it's going to take me away from that, then I'm kind of scared to jump in that because I don't really have that. I'm not willing to replace something with that right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to like why I'm not as active in jiu-jitsu right now as I can. Because to say yes to that means I'm saying no to other things that are more important.
Exactly.
But everything's a sacrifice. No matter what, from the littlest thing to the biggest thing, sacrifices, it's everywhere, you know?
Yeah. Well, what else? What else is going on, man? Before we wrap this thing up.
Oh, man, the only thing else I got going on is I'm about to do that team sniper match.
When's that?
It's in March.
Okay.
It's called Mammoth. So yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
The escalation of hobbies, as I said, it's shooting pistols isn't enough, and shooting long range isn't enough.
So this is long range stuff.
It's both.
Okay, so it's both. Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
So this particular one, it's really heavily military oriented. In fact, it's even done on Fort Chaffee military base. They just went out in Virginia. But you step off Friday morning, 6 a.m., and you have to have your food, your shelter, your gun, your ammo, everything you're going to need for the whole match that lasts 3 days on your back.
Okay, so this is starting to sound way more interesting because I just thought we're just going to range. Okay.
And then you have timed rucks to the shooting stages. So they might be anywhere from a half mile to 4 miles. And you get there and they'll read you a stage briefing, say, hey, these are all the things you have to do. You have 4 pistol targets. You have 6 rifle targets. You have to shoot from these shooting positions. You have 5 minutes. And then you go and you execute the stage. And then when you're done, you pack your stuff on your bag and you go to the next stage. And you'll do that over a course of 30, 35 miles and in Sunday afternoon.
That's nice. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds way better to me, which it shouldn't, but it does.
Once again, but that's what intrigues me. So it starts off like you're shooting pistol, statically. You're standing there, and you're at Red River Range, you're shooting one thing, and you're like, well, this is cool, but it's not that cool.
Yeah.
It gets old quick. And then you find out that they have USPSA, which they do at Red River Range every fourth Wednesday, I think. It's on a Wednesday night, one of them, every month, where you get to draw from a holster and run and shoot. Well, how fast can you run? As fast as you want. How fast can you shoot? As fast as you want. Like, well, that sounds a whole lot more fun. And then you're like, hey, I want to shoot some rifle. So you go and you shoot, statically at 100 yards. And you're like, well, that's cool. It's not that cool. Well, what about you shoot out to 1,000 yards? Well, that sounds cool. So now you're shooting 1,000 yards. And you're like, that's cool. And then after a while, you're like, it's not that cool. It's like, well, hey, how about you shoot these competitions called PRS where you shoot off ladders and trees and tires and pipes and just you name it, buckets, chair, like crazy stuff, barbecue grills. Like you're shooting building positions off of that. And you're shooting at ranges from 200 to 1,000 yards doing this. And you're like, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then that one doesn't get boring. Like that stays pretty fun. Like, cause you're moving, it's always challenging. But then you're like, oh, they have real world sniper challenge where like you have your pistols and you may shoot pistol and then reholster it. And then you got to run 50 yards and you shoot these array of targets. And then you have to draw your pistol again because a pistol target popped up that you missed and you see it and you shoot it. And then like there's puzzles to be done. And like, you're like, no, that's fun.
Yeah.
And it just, everything just escalates and builds. The more difficult, the more fun for me.
What caliber rifle are you shooting?
So some of these matches have requirements. So like for Mammoth we're doing, my partner, he's primary. He can shoot whatever he wants. He chose to shoot a 6 Creedmoor.
Okay.
When I shoot PRS for competitiveness, I shoot a 6 Creedmoor.
Okay.
I really like it. A lot of people shoot what they call a 6 Dasher. It's really, really popular in that type of competition. And then for Mammoth, I'm shooting the secondary shooter has to shoot either a 308 or a 223.
Okay.
So I opted for a 223.
And you're getting out that far with that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you'd be amazed. It's all math.
Yeah.
If you get a good round load and with right practice, at 223 1,000 yards on a 15-inch plate is like it's pretty consistent.
Okay. Yeah, dude, I've never shot. I don't know, the larger rifles I've shot are been longer distance. Or I'm getting to say the more longer distance shots I've had have been with larger calibers.
Yeah.
Not smaller ones.
We need to go fix that.
Yeah, I know. That's interesting too. Cause dude, if I'm hunting, I'm shooting a 300 most of the time, but I may have a 300 yard shot, but that's what I'm shooting typically. It's not like I'm shooting a 308, or 30, but I'm also trying to kill some, knock down power, and I don't want to have to blood trail it, all that shit. Like,
yeah.
But a lot of people are like, I want the clean I'm like, dude, I want to hit it and it be there when I get down there. I don't want to have to.
Yeah, I've never been a big hunter. I wish I would have been. Just never. It's too slow for me.
I'm not now because it is. For me, it's too slow. I think I could really get into elk hunting, but it seems extremely time consuming and expensive, and that's not in my map right now. Like you said, seasons of life, maybe
later.
Post 40s, but like that seems really fun because you got to ruck up a mountain. You got to bring, you can only go so far before you get a horse. You got to camp. You got to shoot it. You got to trim it out. Then you got to load it on a horse, come back. Dude, that shit sounds fun as hell to me.
Yeah,
versus go sit in a stand.
I'm in.
Yeah, then you go sit in a stand. You just shoot this deer eating out of your corn pile. That doesn't do anything for me,
Well, it's like I tell people, to me, it's not quite as sporting. Like once you start shooting these competitions and you're shooting, 8-inch plates at 600 yards off of, some crazy prop. And and then it's like, oh, I got to go shoot a full-size deer at 120 yards.
200-pound deer, yeah.
I mean, I love the meat. That's cool.
Right.
And it was like, oh, what about like bow hunting? I'm like, well, I didn't say bow hunting.
Yeah.
I think bow hunting is a completely different story. I think it's much more sporting. I think it's more difficult.
Oh, it's definitely more challenging. That would be the next thing, too. But that's one of those things like, dude, that's a lot of time, too.
Yeah.
You have to practice.
But if I were to be a hunter, I'd be a bow hunter.
Yeah.
If I go hunt, it's literally just because I want some meat, and I don't have time to do that.
Same. That's where I'm at, too, on that stuff. But I could make time to go do all that shit you're talking about. That sounds fun. Well, so that's in March?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how many people are competing?
Mammoth is big. I think they have like 100 teams.
So you just going for points based, like, how does that work?
So it's all based on points. This last match they did, I think it's all blind too, by the way. Like, you don't ever know what you're walking into.
Okay.
And it changes.
So you don't have any course details ahead of time or nothing. So you just know, your target's going to range from X to Y, and you can use, these calibers.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Very basic rules. They tell you what the expectations are. But the way they score the points and how many targets will change depending on matches, if the match director.
Do you have an update of the leaderboard the whole time, or no?
I want to say they usually do. They keep it pretty updated. Like, end of every day, you'll know where you stand.
So you can just log in and say, okay, well, this is where we're at. We need to do better tomorrow or whatever.
Well, I mean, you're always trying to do your best.
Right, of course, but yeah.
But you can look. It's interesting. But like this last one, they would have like, so you'd go and the primary and secondary guys would shoot, the 4 pistol targets, and you would get 3 shots on each one, and then your first shot impact would get like 3 points, and then each other one would be worth 1. So if you missed your first and you got the next, you got 2. If you got all 3, you get 5.
Right.
So like first shot impacts are more important. And then same with the rifle.
What's a tiebreaker? Like, if you have perfect shots, like how does that work? What if you run through? Say you have 2 or 3 teams that run through and just get every single target. Then what's the?
Dude, there's no way.
There's no way. Okay.
There's no way. A good way to explain it is they give you 8 minutes of work and 5 minutes to do it.
Got you. Okay. So it's okay. That makes more sense.
So you rarely finish every stage.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of people show up with like 150 rounds of ammo, and then they'll have like 30, 40 rounds left over because they just didn't get a chance to shoot all the targets.
Got you.
They ran out of time. They couldn't find the targets. Like, there's always something to make it difficult to slow down. They'll throw out a red herring. They'll be like, hey, there's a target out there worth 30 points. Well, yeah, but it's like a half MOA at 800 yards. Like, you can't even see it. It's camouflage painted with the grass. Like, they'll do things like that to, mess you up, slow you down, trick you. A lot of it's mind games and word games. Some people hate that side of it. Some people like it. I'm indifferent. I know it's a game.
Yeah.
It's not the same as like if you went to sniper school. I wouldn't know. I've never served. But, those guys that show up, there are heavy military to these matches, like, they do just as well as any civilian. Or I should say the civilians do just as well or better than the military guys who are trained to do this. But if you told a civilian, you got to go out there and stalk and, like, do war application sniping.
Yeah, and then shoot someone in the head. It's a different conversation.
They're not going to be the same aspects. But as far as the game goes, yeah, let's play a game. Civilians are going to be phenomenal. That's what we do. We like games.
Yeah.
It's not real life, though, as much as we pretend it is.
Hey, at least you're honest about it, though.
I mean, I know it's like I said before, like, I don't want or shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Like, people say all the time, well, why do you do all this stuff? I was like, well, mostly, like, when we really hard to kill, maybe. I don't know. It's fun. Like, I have no ambition to kill anybody. I don't want to do any of that. It sounds terrible.
Yeah, but, hard to kill for sure.
But, worst case scenario, at least I'm confident.
Yeah. And, man, yeah. I mean, just all these things. Like we were saying earlier, mental fortitude, man, that's it's rare, and it only builds the more you do stuff like this, hard stuff you think you want to do, but you really don't want to do, but then you push yourself and you realize you can do,
And that's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. All these hobbies I just said, they're just life.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but there's so many people out there, bro, that it's not life to them. It's the hardest thing they've done this morning was hit the snooze on the fucking alarm clock. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, no.
And I hit it once this morning. I'm not gonna lie. I got my ass up though.
Yeah, me and Nate were talking not too long ago, and we were just talking about like how important it is to be a winner. And like we'll lie to ourselves to believe we're something we're not. And I came with like this epiphany that like singularly, like you're not special. There's nothing special about any of it. It's like, cool, I did an Ironman, I got a black belt Jiu Jitsu, like I have all these little accolades that are neat, but like I'm not special. There's guys out there who do Ironman 3-4 hours faster than I did. There's guys out there who would demolish me on the mats in Jiu Jitsu. Like, I'm not special. None of us are.
Yeah.
But as you grow that collective of people bigger and bigger, well, you become much more unique.
Yeah, it's a very
It's a weird way to perceive it, but like in a grand scheme of things, if you look at you as a average, if a comparison to everybody in Louisiana, well, you are unique.
Yeah, but then you get those group of people, and it's funny how they just not even mean to flock together based on what they're pushing themselves to do, you know? Like you're talking about Nate, you know, other people we know that I have conversations with, like a couple people coming on here soon. Like those people, like we all know each other. If something really, really, really was needed to be done, I feel like we would have a conversation, or we'd have a meeting or something. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
like, hey man, we got to get together and discuss these things. You know?
We said it again earlier, community.
Yeah.
Right? Like we surround yourself with like-minded people who are going to push themselves, so you want to push yourself.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't show up to High Rocks and do all that stuff if your friends and your wife weren't doing it.
Oh hell no, I'm not.
No.
I'm glad you brought that up. Appreciate it.
You know, I mean, I'm just gonna.
Oh god,
it's the truth.
No,
like
no, I'm going to do it, and it's going to be bad. And it's going to suck.
No, it's going to be great.
But no, it's going to be great because other people are going to be there.
Yeah.
If it were just me, it'd suck.
But just by yourself would be horrible.
Yeah.
It'd be terrible. My buddy just ran a 65-mile trail race. He did the first 60% of it by himself. He's only allowed a pacer for the last 2 laps. Like, dude, that had to be miserable. Like, the last lap
through the woods at night. And crap.
Yeah, well, to be honest, that was kind of fun. It was great.
I saw your head lamp moving. I was like, look at this shit.
Yeah, he was really tired, so I didn't have to like push myself hard. It was actually great for me, but he was in bad shape.
Yeah.
He'd been out there for 12, 13 hours already, and I'm all chipper and feeling fresh. You know, but if none of us would have shown up as a pacer, like, would he have still wanted to do it? And if he did, would he feel even the accomplishment of it?
Yeah, no one was there to
know.
share that with him when he was finished, you know?
Yeah, even if it's small and short-lived, like, you still shared it.
Yeah.
If you can't, anyone who says, like, they enjoy being alone, I call them a liar. That or you really have some mental issues that you need to work through because, dude, I don't like to watch TV by myself. I don't want to do anything by myself. I never want to be alone.
Yeah.
I hate being alone. I haven't been alone my whole life. I've always had a roommate or a wife or kids. Like, I'm serious, I'm never alone. If you left me completely alone for a whole week, like, I'd go into depression.
Yeah.
I have to be around people, and I have to be around people that are going to better me. Fortunately, I've got a great group of friends that do that.
Yeah, and the older you get, the more you understand that. I think the less small talk goes on in your life. There's not a lot of small talk in my life anymore like there used to be. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of chatter, noise, or emphasis on drama or any dumb shit. It's all kind of like what matters, what doesn't. Okay, let's move on.
I don't know. I like some good tea every now and then.
Yeah, but you don't. But you're probably not the one stirring it up. You're just consuming it.
I'm
just. You know what I mean?
I'm just interested.
Right.
I don't want to stir the pot.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear. You know, but well, what's next? You gonna do ultra?
I'm willing.
Yeah.
Yeah, not this year. This year I have to give back to my family.
Yeah.
You know, when I did the Ironman, like my peak weeks were like 15, 17-hour weeks of just training.
And that's after working.
That's after working and, you know, everything else. So I said I was going to take a year to still be active. Like I'm still going to do all the summer triathlon races. I'm actually doing a half Ironman in October. And then like a week after, me and Brittany are going to run the Chicago Marathon.
That's exciting.
It is. So something that she talked me into that I probably wouldn't have ever done was she signed up for a charity bib. We didn't make the lottery. And she's like, you should get a charity bib. And I was like, well, I don't want to raise money for something I don't believe in or whatever. And then, so I looked through the list, and they had this one called Zero, and it's for prostate cancer. Long story short, my dad eventually died from complications with his prostate cancer. And one of his big things I was saying earlier in life was, you know, he ran marathons. He qualified for Boston. He never went. I don't know why he never went.
Think it has something to do with being away from you guys or training for it or something like that?
No.
Oh,
no. He was like me, selfish in the fact that, like, if he's going to push himself to do something, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
I think in him mind it was, I qualified for the event. He goes, I don't need to run the event.
Okay.
And I think that was his mindset. But he never ran a major. And I was like, well, if I can go run a major and I can do it in honor of him and raise money for something I believe in, I'm willing to do that. So I'll be raising money, doing some jiu-jitsu seminars or whatever I can give back to raise some money for that. And then something she came up with that would be pretty neat is, you know, having on our bib all the people we know personally that have battled with like prostate cancer for me personally. And it kind of surprisingly, like the more I've talked about it, it's amazing how many people I know who've had to deal with it directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
Like for men, it's almost become the thing that I've recently learned that like, it's not a matter of dying from prostate cancer, but if you live long enough, you'll die with it.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a crazy thing, like how many people have it even if it doesn't affect their life. So
yeah.
So that's what this year looks like. Nothing crazy on the books.
Just a half Ironman and a marathon.
Yeah.
That's it.
But that's the beauty of like pushing yourself to that level is like, you know, I did an Ironman and
right.
Yeah, it was super accomplishing everything else. But I think the biggest benefit I gained from that is the most important to me is on any given day, I can do anything I want.
Yeah.
And yeah, it took a few years of building up to that, but like I can go to Jiu Jitsu and have a great time and do well. Like I can go run a half marathon with my friends anytime I want. If my son wants to go do something like go hiking up at Eagle Rock Loop and do the whole loop, like okay. Like physically, I can do what I want.
Yeah.
And dude, there's some freedom in that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly. I mean, you're right because there's so many people that can't. I've watched handfuls of people walk up that staircase and be breathing hard when they come up it, and I just think to myself, God, dude, that sucks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That sucks. I don't say anything, but I think it. You know what I mean?
I'm the worst, and I try and encourage people all the time. Like, look, something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Go walk.
Move.
Something. Like I feel so bad for the people that they just can't live a life. I mean, really, like what do you do for fun? Like,
I hold these devices and look at them all day, bro, and watch everybody else doing all the crazy shit you're talking about doing right now.
I'm a slave to mine.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a problem, and I know it, and I still can't break it.
I don't do it much, man. If I'm on it, it's because I'm looking at trying to figure out shit for work. It's never like a swiping and looking up thing. Mostly.
If I'm sitting still and have absolutely nothing going on, it's like my brain has to absorb something. And I try and convince myself and justify, like, well, I'm absorbing something educational. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm watching funny videos. And, you know, occasionally.
It's fun. It is fun. Especially when someone sends you something that's hilarious.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm in those group chats where, like, you can't share those kind of things.
No. We can't talk about those on here.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap this thing up, dude. Anything else you want to talk about, or anything you want to plug, or anything you want to mention before we wrap up?
Yeah. What's the next hard thing you're doing?
Oh man,
High Rocks doesn't count.
High Rocks doesn't count. Well, High Rocks is not. That's going to be hard, but I know I can do it. We're practicing every week. I know I can do it. It's one of those conversations where my time's not going to be there because I'm just not my pace. I'm in zone 4 most of the time. That's horrible. I need to be in like zone 2 on the runs, or at least low zone 3. You know. But I really don't know. We haven't planned. I mean, I would like. We have the CrossFit Open coming up. I'd actually like to try to compete in that, but probably not going to. The wife, she'll do great. I don't think we have anything else on the schedule right now. I need to put something there.
Sounds like you are missing some opportunities.
I know. I need to put something there. I just hadn't gauged that far. Like, trying to get to High Rocks and then make the next challenge after that. Because honestly, it's not that I know I'm going to go compete and I know I'm going to finish it unless something just happens before then to me, if I get injured or something. But I know that I would have to lose another however many pounds just to get any quicker on my pace to finish it with those elite guys. I'm not going to, which is, I'm okay with that. At least let me go finish it, you know. But that shit sucks, dude. It
sounds like we need to just ruin your life with all my hobbies. You can come shoot with me.
I'll come shoot for sure. I definitely want to do that. I'm not ready to get back into jiu-jitsu yet or anything like that. I just feel like I said, it's one of those things I can't put that in.
I'm with you.
I can't put that in there right now.
Time to invest
I can't.
Into it
but the shooting thing sounds fun, and it sounds like if I can keep at least staying on programming with CrossFit, and then if a competition does come up, we can just do it. You know, kind of like you were saying, like if something comes up and I want to do it with my friends, I can go do it and compete and still feel good about it. But then I could still do something like shooting where I'm not, you know, killing myself and feeling like I'm going to die when I get out of bed, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like I said, the shooting ones are great because, man, pistol shooting is actually relatively cheap considering all the other stuff. And if you go to the one that happens once a month, Like it's like
that sounds doable.
3-4 hours a month.
Yeah, that sounds doable.
You don't have to like fully commit to it, but then you get, like I said, that realistic look, and it's fun, and like that's what I did for the longest. My practice was a competition.
I really just want to drag my wife to it because I know she's going to whoop everyone's ass.
Oh, dude.
And I'll be there for that, and then I'll try to start getting better too. I feel like that's always like the it's one of those things.
You actually can't bring her.
Did you hear that? You're not invited.
Then she'll be addicted, and she'll be like, hey, DJ, really, you kind of slow me down.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's always that's the case now. That's the case now, but that's okay. We can still do it. I just can't compete with you, you know. But yeah, man, that's it, dude. That'll be on the. I'll say it now. I'll commit to that. We'll do something. Okay. I'll come shoot. I've been talking about it.
Anything else already? Let me know. I'm always in. I like doing really dumb stuff.
Oh, I'm sure something else dumb will come up, and I'm definitely. Anytime it does, I make that conversation with Nate, or I'll say it to Billy, or if I see you in passing, I'll tell you about it. Like something stupid will come up.
All I know is thank God that Nate, and I don't mean this literally, but like he's always a little bit injured. Because if not, we'd be doing a lot of dumb stuff.
I know.
Because I could talk Nate into anything if he was healthy.
I know. I always try to get him to come to the gym. He's like,
he can't.
I don't want to hurt myself. I'm like, I get it.
He's like Mike Tyson.
I know.
He's a different person when he's in the element. Like you can't have that.
No, I get it. I know. I've seen him train. I know. We still send each other workouts, and I'll send him times. I'm like, try this one. He's like, try this one. Okay. He's like, we're into Tabatas right now, like on the Aerodyne and some.
Tabatas are rough.
Yeah.
Get your VO2 max up though.
I'll do that whenever like there's something going on, or I'll miss a watt or something. I'll try to replace it with that just to kind of get that elevated heart rate. But yeah, bro, we'll see what happens.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thanks.